Good morning. Welcome to Black History Month Storytime. I am Miss Tiffany, and I am excited to read Tar Beach to you today. Now, I want to remind you, if you saw in the chat, we will be doing an activity at the end of this. So if you have time to print, go ahead and print those sheets. If you do not, that's okay too, because you can trace the activity or make your own version. If you have any questions for me or anything you need to input, please put that in the chat for us, please. And then we'll be able to get to you while we're telling the stories. So chat below for that. And then at the end of story time and quilt making, when you're all done, you'll all have a chance to share your quilts. We'll ask if you want to turn your cameras on and share then. All right, sounds good. So let's talk about our author. Faith Ringgold is the epitome of a Renaissance woman. She is what I like to call an all-around talent. She is a writer, she is a painter, she is a sculptor, and she is known for her quilting, which is something we'll discover in this book. This book brings together a lot. She was on the forefront of anti-racist protest and feminist protest in her time. And so I am excited that we are sharing one of her stories here with you today. All right, are you ready to dig in to Tar Beach with me? Let's start the book. All right, as I said, Tar Beach by Faith Ringgold. I will always remember when the stars fell down around me and lifted me up above the George Washington Bridge. I could see our tiny rooftop with Mommy and Daddy and Mrs. and Mr. Honey, our next door neighbors, still playing cards as if nothing was going on. And BB, my baby brother, lying real still on the mattress, just like I told him to, with his eyes like huge floodlights, tracking me through the sky. Sleeping on Tar Beach was magical. Lying on the roof in the night with stars and skyscraper buildings all around me made me feel rich, like I owned all I could see. The bridge, it was my most prized possession. Daddy said that George Washington Bridge is the longest and most beautiful bridge in the world, and it opened in 1931, on the very day I was born. How cool is that to have something that was created on the day you were born? That's a Miss Tiffany side note, but I think it's pretty incredible, right? You come into the world and suddenly there is something you can relate to. Daddy worked on the bridge. He was hoisting cables, and since then, I wanted the bridge to be mine. I think we all would want our own personal bridge. I mean, I do. Now, I've claimed it. All I had to do was fly over it for it to be mine forever. I can wear it like a giant diamond necklace, or just fly above it and marvel at the sparkling beauty. Oh, I can fly. Yes, fly. Me, Cassie, Louise Lightfoot, only 8-year-olds, and in the 3rd grade, and I can fly. That means I am free to go wherever I want for the rest of my life. Daddy took me to see the new union building he is working on. He can walk on steel girders high up in the sky and not fall. They call him a cat. Can you guess why they may call him a cat for that skill set? If you have a cat, you might know cats are pretty stealthy and they get into all kinds of situations. So I have a feeling that's why her dad is referred to as Cat. Pretty cool nickname. But still, he can't join the union because Grandpa wasn't a member. Well, Daddy is going to own the building because I'm going to fly over it and give it to him. Then it won't matter that he's not their old Union or whether he's colored or half-breed Indian, like they say. He'll be rich and won't have to stand on a 24-story high girders and look down. He can look at his building going up. And Mommy won't cry all winter when he goes to look for work and doesn't come home. And Mommy can laugh and sleep late like Mrs. Honey. And we can have ice cream every night for dessert. That sounds pretty tasty. Now, I'm gonna fly over the ice cream factory just to make sure we do. As she said, those flying skills are pretty important. And so when she is going to be flying, we're going to discover what she gets to take home. Now, does anyone know what the significance of flying could be? Put it in the chat for me if you do. And if you're not sure, I am welcoming any guesses, and then we'll let you know what you're thinking, okay? And then we'll let you know the significance when we come to it, all right? Awesome. Tonight, we're going up on Tar Beach. Mommy is roasting peanuts and frying chicken. Daddy will bring home a watermelon. Mr. and Mrs. Honey will bring the beer and the old green card table. And then the stars will fall around me and I will fly to the Union Building. Hey, do you notice when she's on Tar Beach, she is always surrounded with people? She is surrounded by her family. She is surrounded by other people in her building. That's what we like to call a community, right? A group of people who are around each other. And I think that's pretty nifty. Can you think of some special moments you may have had in life where you were surrounded by family, friends, and community? If you have a really special occasion, I also want you to put that in the chat. Chat away with me. Parents and guardians, your littles may not be able to chat themselves, but I'd love for you to ask them those questions and add that to the chat for me. I'm just interested to hear what your community looks like. I'll take BB with me. He's threatened to tell Mommy and Daddy if I leave him behind, little brothers. I have told him it's very easy. Anyone can fly. All you need is somewhere to go, and you can't get to it any other way. The next thing you know, you're flying among the stars. Now, I want you to notice each page we read, look how colorful it is. Look at all the colors and patterns we keep seeing. It's pretty beautiful. I think it's pretty clear that there's an artist creating this book, but you can get mesmerized page by page at the beautiful print. All right. Now, yes, there you go, Tamika. It is beautiful artwork. That was the end of our story. It wasn't a long story, so I'm gonna give you a clap for that. And before we get into our artwork, we're gonna talk about the pieces you saw in the work. If you happen to have seen any other wonderful pieces from her before, let me know. Or I'd also like to hear, what was your favorite part? My favorite part is her taking her baby brother along and letting him know that he can get anywhere and through any obstacle. The beautiful thing about Faith and her work, it was a wonderful act Sometimes resistance is being in a time. So being a woman artist gave her a voice, but she also used her voice to stand up in activism too. She used it to show sides and communities that were underserved. She used it to tell stories. Even in this story, you notice she talked about a few things that were happening in real life. The union and her daddy not being able to get into the union for reasons because he was colored, because he was half Indian, and because they used the big, oh, well, your daddy wasn't in the union. So that is something she used. So to be an activist, you can do it in many different ways. Like she did, she's an artist, so she created art to tell a story. Some people use music and songs to tell a story. Some people may march. You may have seen that on TV where people gather and march with their signs, but activism can be big or small. Sometimes activism is simply standing up for someone. If you see someone treating someone not great, you can be an activist by not being a bystander and saying, hey, not cool. Activism could be writing letters that make a change. If you know someone who has the ability to make change, sometimes writing a letter and just saying, hey, I noticed this going on in my neighborhood and I would like to see some change. That is an act right there of creating change. It's all around us every day, even at school. If you guys get a little older, even in elementary, you may see so many things going on in your school and you might want to run for student council because that's a great way to be an activist inside your school. So activism, again, can be big or small. And within Black history, as we're talking about Black History Month, art and the arts have played a major role in our movement. And it is fantastic to look at and see. All right. So before we start the activity, I want to talk a few more moments on our author, because I think as we are reading her story and learning more and more about Black history and activism, really taking a look at what was before her to get to where she was. Now, I'm going to say a year, it was a long time ago, 1930. 1930 was a very long time ago for me. Maybe for you too. If you're one of the littles, that may seem like a crazy time, but she was born in 1930. That means a couple of things. That means by the time she was on the forefront of her art, she was a woman. She was a Black woman. She was a Black woman using her voice. These were not all common during that time, right? And she took pieces of what was going on in the world and built them into what she's doing. As a matter of fact, when we do our activity, we're gonna be working on quilts. And the magical thing about that is, holy moly, they are more than just pretty pieces of squares in a quilt. They have meaning. They send messages. And this is not the first place we see that. People have used song and chants from way back when to relay messages to each other. If we travel back in time, there was a time that if we lived in two different areas and we had two different plantations to work, we may not have been allowed to talk to each other, right? So how do you communicate with each other when the world says, no, you can't? Well, you create a song, you create art, you create something that sends a message to other people about what you need, what you feel, or what you're about to do, all right? And it's still going on. Art as activism is still a part of today. So something that started a long time ago, it's in our DNA, it's in our history, it's still part of our movement today and moving things forward. I have gotten to see some great exhibits right here in Charlotte and right here at the Gantt who've talked about issues that we have going on, housing issues that has been portrayed. It is beautiful. If you ever get a chance, I urge you to dig in a little more to our history and what that looks like so you can see how you can also be an activist. All right, so now I want to talk to you about our activity today. Hopefully you've got a chance to get your prints Again, if you don't have your printouts, that is okay. So that you can trace or you can make up your own. So give me 1 second. I'm going to turn on my other camera because I want you to see what we're working on and what quilt activity I am talking about, so you know where we're going, okay? So give me 1 second. I'm gonna turn on that camera. Hold on. That camera's upside down for me. Now you see where Miss Tiffany went. It's like I disappeared on you for a moment. All right. You see my patterns right here in front of you? We can get you those prints, Zachy, if you don't have them. There they go. So there's the link for you to print them yourself. And if you do not have the prints, again, that is absolutely okay. So don't be too concerned. You can trace what I have, or you can draw a replica of it on your own. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the images on the paper. Now you see each block is completely different. And if you've seen a real life quilt, they have these intricate patterns that are kind of cool. But again, in our quilt today, we will not be just making a random pattern. We will be talking about what those patterns mean and what messages they conveyed and how interesting. Again, I'm going to keep talking about this because I'm amazed. I don't know if you're amazed, but I'm amazed that people had the idea to take something that we needed anyway. We needed a quilt. You needed to stay warm in the winter, and turning that into an act of activism. All right. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to print or look. I'm going to start with our top corner here. And that pattern is what's called a monkey wrench. Okay. It tells people to get ready, get your tools together. You're going to need to build some shelter to navigate this journey or defend yourself along the way. So that was weaved in just to let people know, be ready. Okay, be ready, have your tool belt. Let's do the darn thing. The next one is going to be the Crossroads, okay? That is going to tell people to keep going and travel the Crossroads in Cleveland, Ohio, nicknamed Hope, which is pretty cool. Cleveland, Ohio should get a lot more props for a lot of things that they've done in history, all right? This Hope is vibrant in the Underground Railroad station. It was used as the last stop where the enslaved would board the boat to Canada. All right. The next one, and I'm pretty sure I've seen that print, even in quilts today, is the log cabin. And it lets people know that you have reached a safe space. Congratulations, you found new friends who are friends to all, including the enslaved. And then the last one on the top row is the bow ties. It looks like little bow ties, so you see where it gets its name from, but it means you're looking pretty tattered, and to disguise yourself as a freed slave, you need to change your clothes, because that would be one easy way. If you took a journey for hundreds and hundreds of miles, you can imagine the wear and tear on your clothes, but if you want to be in a new place and no one look at you suspiciously, you'll need to dress up a little bit so people know. All right, now on our bottom corner, we have the Flying Geese. Does look like birds flying. And this is telling people to follow the geese who are migrating north to Canada. So you've heard that geese migrate south at one point in the year, and then they migrate back north. So this pattern just let people know to pay attention to that migration phase and follow it. And then next is the drunkard's path. That means go back one space. It's a block that is a sign that there are hunters near. Double back, elude them, and do it immediately. You see why it's drunkard? Because you can't follow the same path back. You may stagger a little bit. And then we have the North Star. And that tells you to look to the skies and it'll help you navigate the way. Follow the North Star to Canada. And then the last block we have is what's called tumbling blocks, appropriately named. This is the time has come to box up your belongings. Your escape will be happening soon. So that was a way of other people to say, hey, listen up. We are about to get going somewhere. So pack it up and get ready. Because again, remember, people couldn't talk to each other. I couldn't verbally say these things to you. Now, do you think you can create a symbol on your own for you and your friends and family? Like a secret message, okay? I'll let you marinate on that. Think about that, and maybe you can include it in our activity today. Does that sound good to you guys? I can't see you, but I'm gonna imagine you're thumbsing up at me, okay? So along with the blocks we have, try and think of something that might be special to your family or meaningful that you would incorporate in a block. Sound good? I know I can't see you. You can also tell me in the chat. Sounds good. And then I know we're on the same page. All right, let's get ready to play together. I feel like Miss Tiffany has got a lot of screens happening at the same time. Give me one moment. Thank you. Someone answered me with the sounds good. I appreciate that. It's always nice to know that someone is here and can hear me. One moment. All right, get your markers ready. Get your scissors ready if you want to cut. I have my pattern here, and then I have a card stock, just a regular sheet of paper that I want to glue mine on. So you can get both ready to go. Let me gather my supplies with you because I'm going to play along too. Does that sound good to you? I know, I wish I had music to play while you guys are making your quilt. But what I can share is a little bit of tunes with you guys while you're getting creative. So let your creative juices flow. And let me get your playlist going to jazz up your experience of getting crafty. All right, 1 second. You don't have to wait on me to get crafty, but 1 second so I can give you a little background music while you're doing so. All right, my music isn't working for you guys. Charge it to my technology and not my heart. But hopefully while you're waiting on music to play, this is a good time to talk to your family about the symbols and what you would make for your own. Azaki, there's no particular way of what it looks like. So think of a quilt, and you're gonna take these blocks to build your own quilt and what that would look like for you. Okay, so I may want to build my quilt that, you know, as a reminder to follow the geese and look to the North Star. So those might be my two main blocks that I use. And then I might want to throw in a tumbling block in the beginning to tell people to get ready. So think of what you want to convey with your quilt, and then that's how you will build your quilt. And that goes for everyone too. No two quilts will look alike. They might. What a coincidence if they do, but they may not look alike, okay? Once you've got your quilt colored in, we want to cut those squares out. So I'm going to color really quickly one while we're watching, and then I'm going to start cutting out to build my pattern, okay? So let's do that. I will do it with you now that we officially know my music is not where I want it to be. So I've grabbed my marker and I'm going to color in, and where you color is up to you. So I may color in here. Again, you can use your markers, your crayons, your colored pencils, whichever you'd like when you're making or deciding which blocks you want. And I think it'd be pretty cool if you color each block. If you don't have a decided story or you want to use all the blocks, go ahead and color them in. And then we can cut and lay out a pattern. Does that sound good to you guys? That takes away the stress of trying to think about it too much in the beginning. You might have one idea, and then after you get done coloring, you may go, wait, I think I want to switch that up. Get as creative as you want while you're coloring. This is your art. Yours to do with it. Well, we're going to build a quit, but again, I'm not going to look at it and go, oh no, what'd you do? You can also use a color scheme. So we know we're here today celebrating Black History Month, and a lot of colors that are associated, or three colors that are associated with Black History Month, and things like Kwanzaa are red, green, and black. So that's an option for you to use when you're thinking about what colors you want to add into your quilt. You can keep it on theme. Also, just a note in color, red is an easier color. It would have been an easier color to have back then because it was easy. There are a lot of fruits and vegetables that would help you dye something red. So back when we needed colors, that would have been an easier color to come by because of what we had on hand. We couldn't just go to the store and grab paint. It was a different time for us. Isn't that interesting to think about as we're making this activity, right? We've come together, we've grabbed our markers and crayons, and we're creating something. And in the time and space that this tradition was started, it wasn't so easy to do. I want to note that Faith started off mainly in painting. And then after a trip to Europe, she did some studies in Europe. And when she came back, one of the things that she started working with was textiles, so fabric and all that. And then she slowly started moving more into her quilt work. She became probably widely known for a long time on her quilts and their intricacy and their beauty and their lessons in them. And so if you were looking in the book, you would have noticed some of her quilt work woven, see what I did there? Woven into the book. There are a couple of pages where you can see a quilt laid out on the bed. They are laying up on the roof. There's some quilts and blankets laid out. So that would be an interesting thing to go back and look at. If you didn't catch it the first time, you can rent the book and go back and just see where you can see her quilt doing. And it was pretty cool to see it. It borders her book in many pages. So not only was it laid out, it also borders around. So, side note, since we're talking, there will be a feature about Faith Ringgold in the Gantt's latest exhibit, Vision and Spirit, African-American Artworks from the Bank of America collection. So the Gantt has opened back up for in-person viewing, and that will be in the next exhibit. I think you should check it out. I'll be there. Yes. Is that better? While I admire many artists, me and art look a little bit different. If I were to use my art as activism, I would probably work in knitting. I can knit a little bit, or I think sculpting would be cool. Imagine if you came to something where a sculpture was done and shown. There's that one. Let me grab another color. One of my markers bled out for you guys, for you to see. All right. How many blocks have you colored? Are you ready to start cutting yet? Hopefully you're more advanced than Miss Tiffany, who started coloring later in the game, okay? But if you're ready to cut, I'm gonna go to cutting so we know what we're doing next. All right, so you've got your blocks colored. Hopefully you're speedier than me, so you've got all your blocks colored. And then we are going to go ahead and cut our squares out. And it's nice and lined. And if we are not certified with our scissors yet, because we're really little, this is a great time for guardians to jump on in and help our littles cut for safety reasons. I'm gonna cut 2 out at a time. Trying to. So that's one square cut. Now I'm gonna cut my second square. And the great thing about the squares, it's got an outline, so you know where your squares begin and end. I'm gonna get a couple more colored for you. Let's see. Just a moment, let me cut. Like a monotone aesthetic. So I would pick 1 or 2 colors to go off of, but again, you can be as colorful as you like. Faith's work was very colorful when she did it. All right, so I'm gonna color a couple more for us. And then we will see. We will put it together. beautiful thing about being creative, as I mentioned before, as we build our quilts, the order that I read to you is not necessarily the order we have to go in. So remember that. As you have colored and have cut, then we will decide how we want to paste it on. All right. So I'm going to use this color. I'm going to add in another color for me. My blue looks very much like my black, but that's okay. I think when you, that's interesting. It does. I can see the blue. It's hard to read on the camera, but I can see the blue-green in person a little better. My color. Trying not to shake the camera too much as I color, guys. Great. Pretend I color better than I do. We can say Miss Tiffany's skill sets are in narration, not necessarily in coloring. So far I've used a wonderful green and a teal. What colors are you guys using? Have you decided on a certain pattern, a certain set of colors? Or are you getting really creative with all the colors? Let me know in the chat. You're using all the colors. I love it. It's like that saying, my favorite color is the rainbow. Amy and family are getting creative. I love it. Let your creativity shine. I wish this green showed up a little better for you guys. But unfortunately, gonna have to be a secret that I know. Who else is using colors? I've heard from 2 people about what colors they're using and how they're being creative. Who else? I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. When I was really little, my great-grandmother was still alive, and she had beautiful quilts all over the house. As a matter of fact, it was one of the things that I loved visiting her to see because she worked on them and she took her time and she made sure every family, as she had 6 kids, so everyone had their own special quilt. And then she would make additional quilts for special occasions. But I love looking at them, specifically the patterns, because not 2 quilts are not alike. Even if you use the same blocks, and we'll see this when we share our colors together, even if you use the same blocks, the way we lay out our patterns are going to be very different. And so patterns are a big part of quilting. You'll see quilting coming together and how people decide on how to lay out their patterns, where they put things, and it's all little bits of something that make it extra special. And so earlier, if you remember, I said, what patterns would you use a secret code for your family? I said that, and in my family, my grandmother had special details that were special to certain people, certain ones of her kids, right? So if your pattern, if she sewed in, they're not necessarily dots. I don't know how to explain them. They're like dashes, but in dot-like fashion on some of the quilts. And you know which one of her kids that quilt pattern went to. And so I love the way people use pattern to also create something else, right? We could all take something, let's say you were even making just a shirt, right? Most shirts are one pattern, but imagine how fun it would be if you took lots of different pieces of different fabric and built a shirt, right? That's kind of like what you're doing for quilting, except you're starting at a different level. You are starting in the building phase, like each block is built. One of the things I also think is cool is back when you couldn't just go to the fabric store to buy quilting material, you would take old clothes, right? So you would take an old shirt you didn't wear anymore, and you didn't waste it, you turned it into a part of a quilt. And that was really good. There's this thing called memory quilts, and it's a way to honor people in your lives who may not be around anymore. And you've taken special pieces and items from them to build a quilt. Oh, my green gave up on me, y'all. All right. Let's pretend I finished coloring that because me and my green gave up. I love it. Zulu is using rainbow colors. Tell Zulu I'm gonna take that phrase, rainbow colors. And then Zari is using the red, black, and green. All right, take a moment. We've got about a minute or so before you can share it. So what you're gonna do on your other sheet of paper is decide how you wanna lay out your blocks, right? So you could choose to go from corner to corner. I need about 3 across, but I could also make my own pattern. See what I'm doing? I'm making a pattern now. I can make my own pattern with the items, or I'm gonna get as creative as I want with my patterns over here. I'm indecisive. I'm creative. So now you glue down your blocks in whatever patterns you want to use. And like I said, we all have the same sheet, right? But our patterns are going to look really different. So let's cut and paste that out. And then we've got 2 minutes or so, and I'll ask you who wants to share. And I hope those of you who were talking in my chat about your rainbow colors, I'm excited to see your quilt. So I can't wait for you to show me. So take a moment, cut. Parents, guardians, take a moment to help cut. This is a good time to jump in and help. And then let the littles decide on how they want to build their magical quilts. If you look in the chat, there are some instructions for you so that you know exactly how we get to see your quilt. Because cameras are off right now, we need you to follow those instructions, which is hitting the raise your hand button, so we know you're ready to share. All right. Hopefully you've got it cut and you're pasting onto your sheet. Fingers crossed. I didn't mean to sing it, y'all. Miss Tiffany can't help herself sometimes. In your pasting, I'm gonna paste onto mine. Mine is not really paste. It is a double-sided tape because when I use glue, I get it everywhere. So I've decided I like this pattern. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build my pattern here. Here. And if you want to add in to your pattern, you can draw onto your sheet. If you didn't have a quilt, you can draw directly onto the sheet. If you did have your squares and still want to add some patterns with your hands, you can do so. You are not limited to creativity with just your squares. Listen, that's going to be my theme for life. You're not limited to your creativity by your box. All right, now let's see. If I was going to make, I'm going to use my middle right here for my family version. So if I was making a pattern for my family, I'm going to draw a star because stars mean a lot to our family. They're great reminders that the world is very big and vast, but that no matter how far apart we are connected by the stars. So if you ever were to see Miss Tiffany, she has a lot of star items, but that's why. So my special family symbol is the stars. And that's going to be my special touch. That's my family block. And if I ever get a quilt made, I'm going to make sure they add that in. All right, guys, raise your hands. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. Can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what you got. I'm going to draw one more star on mine. That is my family block. 'Tis the stars. All right, I see a few people. Raise those hands. Share. We're in a sharing circle now. I know it feels weird in the digital world. Trisha, I see you here. Do you have a visual?
Oh, we're trying. Hold on one second.
Take your time.
Oh, there. Hold on, baby.
Are you on from your phone or your computer?
Oh, my phone. Of course
It should be, yeah, that bottom, down at the bottom, you should see the little video camera button.
Yep, it just will not let me hit it. I don't.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying.
Yes, I don't know why. Hold on. I'll fix it.
Take your time. I'll talk a little bit more about the stars and what they mean to me. When I was very little, I am from a big military family. So we talked about community and family in the book, and you see how she got to hang out with her family all the time. I didn't get to do that because a lot of times we traveled. It was just me, my parents, and my sister. So I miss a lot of family connection. But what made it feel better and what my parents talked about all the time is how we were all linked, right? So that's what I mentioned. The stars, and if you go outside at the same time and look up, you can see the same sky. And so that was a big reminder that no matter where we were always connected by the sky, and we were everywhere. Like I grew up, we traveled to Hawaii, we traveled to Germany, we lived in Alaska for a while. So when I say I was far from my family, y'all, Miss Tiffany was far from my family, but I always knew that we were connected. So that's why that star means a lot to me. And that's why my family would know that it would be significant in our special quilt. So if you've built something like that in your quilt, I'd love to hear what it was. Just noted, someone did ask if you could share outside of today. You can email or send it. That is just fine with me. You can share it on the social at HB Gantt Center, or you can email it to education@gantt.org, or you can raise your hand and still share. I'm looking forward to seeing. I know Trisha's figuring it out, and we'll take time to do that. But anybody else interested in sharing? feel like we're in Littles, you won't get it, but Bueller. It's okay. You may not be done. You may be making your masterpiece and you want to share with me later, but I really hope you still share with me later because I want to look and see what you did. So even if you haven't had a chance to finish or raise your hand now, please send it to the Instagram or Facebook or the education email so that we can see what you did. Oh, I got someone coming. Lauren, coming to share. Hi, Lauren. Let me see your quilt.
This one.
Hold on. Can I get you there? Give me one moment. Ooh, girl, you got real creative. I love it. What colors did you use there?
I used the whole rainbow.
Yes, ma'am, I love a rainbow. I see you have a heart in the middle. Is that your special symbol?
Mm-hmm.
What does the heart mean to you?
The heart means that even when stuff bad happens, me and my family are always together.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anybody else want to share their beautiful creation? All right, before I go any further. No, all right. Remember, you can still share them. It's not over. Those links can share. All right, so I want to give you guys, oh, somebody else is sharing. Legenia, are you sharing with me? Hi. Oh, look. I love it. I like how you use the pink background there. I like your block usage. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing it.
And then I got a heart.
I love the hearts. What does your heart mean to you?
I love my family so much, and I just love them with all my heart.
Oh, that is adorable. And I bet you they love you too. Thank you for sharing with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Thank you for listening to our story time. Thank you for creating with us. We will be forever grateful for you joining us and forever grateful for you sharing with us. I just want to mention a few things before, oh, thank you. Thank you, Becca. A few things before we end today, okay? So, number one, today we learned about Faith Ringgold. If you have a chance, go learn some more about her because she was pretty fantastic and a great name to know as we are studying history during Black History Month. Number two, we learned about art and activism. Look at all the different ways people have used art and the arts to build activism and get the word out there, okay? Those are two big things we learned. I hope you have a chance to research a little bit further. Thank you for being a part of our Black History Month story time. There are great opportunities and other things happening during this month. Visit ganttcenter.org to learn more about how you can support Harvey B. Gantt Center's mission, sign up for upcoming programs. And from me personally, thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been a pleasure reading this wonderful story with you and sharing a little bit of magic and history with you today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.